welcome to A Novel Console, your weekly podcast where we talk about books, games, food, and just games this time because I have today my buddy Josh from the Still Loading podcast, and this is Loading Memories. I don't have a special song, so just imagine that you heard a special song for this type of episode. But hey, Josh is here. Josh, how are you doing, my man?
I am doing fantastic. I feel like this is a fitting crossover with Loading Memories and Still Loading. This episode may never end with this combination of titles.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a long episode because for some reason I usually pick long titles, and then when I'm typing them out on Buzzsprout, I'm like, that's not going to fit on Spotify or wherever people get their podcasts. So, hey, but thanks for being on. For the listeners, if this is the first time you're listening to a Loading Memories episode, or the second time, because this will technically be the second episode, what we do is we just sit down, we talk games that we grew up playing, and basically that's it. We just try to have an hour-long conversation, maybe more, and just talk, and that's it.
There's a good chance it's going to be more than an hour, knowing me. I talk a lot.
That's perfectly fine. So, before we continue, tell me about Still Loading. I've listened to a couple of episodes. I listened to the 2019 Game of the Year episode that you suggested. That was a pretty good episode. I forgot that a bunch of those games came out in 2019. I also listened to recently to the episode you did with Colby about Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, Crisis Core, yeah.
Yes, that is my favorite piece of Final Fantasy VII content ever, and I was pretty excited to see somebody that took both the original and the remaster, and talked about both. So that was a very fun
That
episode.
wasn't even like intentional. I literally was just like, who's the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan I know? And it's Colby. So then he's like, I never played the original. I'm like, you know what? That actually kind of makes it really nice. We're attacking this from two ends. So you know what? We'll take something semi-negative by us not playing the exact same version and turn it into a positive.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a very interesting episode. Just hearing about both sides, and especially hearing Colby's take, because he didn't grow up with Final Fantasy VII because he's severely younger than us. And
Severely. So that's an adjective for it.
Yeah, severely younger than us. And he came into it when he was when he was sentient, when he had a conscience and he could make his own opinions. So it's not like it was pushed into his face like it was with us growing up, because it was either that or nothing.
After that kind of like sweet spot age, I always feel like there is an age range where when you play games, those are the games that are the most formative for you personally. Like ages, it starts when it's 8, but I think like 12 to like 17. And I say that because 12 to 17 is when you start being able to kind of get over the fact that all games are like amazing. Because when you're a kid, you think all games are amazing because it's a game. Of course it's amazing. It has to be. It's a game. I love games.
Right.
And then when you turn 12 and set like 12 to 17, like preteens to like teenage years, you start kind of understanding things you like and don't like about games. And that's also when you're in your most emo. So when you ever have games like Final Fantasy that have like those big emotional through lines, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this game's speaking to me. I've never seen this before. Like it's that type of art that suddenly is speaking to you that had never spoken to you before. So now that at that age, it's like those games that like resonate with you when you're 12 to 17 are the ones that just because now all of a sudden you can more critically analyze games. I feel like they stick with you more, for better or worse. Those are the games that when you get old enough, you can acknowledge the flaws and it doesn't matter. Donkey Kong 64, one of my favorite games of all time. So many flaws in that game. Doesn't matter. That game rules.
No, I get that 100%. I agree. Donkey Kong is one of those games that I did play while I was growing up. And thinking back on it, I had no idea what I was doing because I barely knew any English back then. I must have been like maybe somewhere between 10 and 12. And thinking about it, like, I should probably replay that game at some point and try to figure it out, because one, it's a collectathon, two, is Donkey Kong, but it's notorious for how large the amount of shit that you have to collect is.
I'm actually going to be, this is a little teaser for both, I guess, the public at large, because I haven't done it yet, but I want to start working on my writing more. And my first little bit that it's going to be free on Patreon. I'm not going to like put it behind a paywall just because my writing, I don't think is worth it just yet. But, I want to do a little essay on about why Donkey Kong 64 is good and why collectathons aren't necessarily bad. Because Donkey Kong 64 gets much maligned with it. And a little tidbit, I was talking with a friend of mine who's also a DK64 defender. Donkey Kong 64, it's not that it has too many collectibles, it's that the pathing is really poorly designed. Like the route that you need to get all of those collectibles it's tedious. But and you also don't need to collect all of the collectibles, but I'm going to save it there before I reveal all the things I want to say in the essay, but that's just kind of like a little taste on it. So It's not as bad as people make it out to be, but it is definitely, there are flaws for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can also see that with a bunch of some of the old rare platformers. I have never finished what's it called? Banjo-Kazooie. I have tried a bunch of times. I have tried. And the stages are just overwhelming. And I don't feel like I have the brain capacity to buckle down and be like, okay, so I have to learn how to really play this game so I can do what the game wants me to do. But you know.
It can be tough, but once you kind of get used to like the way they do things in those levels, like I beat it for the first time, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not even like it's coming from this like a nostalgic perspective for me. I enjoyed my time with it. I do want to replay it at some point, because at some point I want to cover it on my show. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know where were we at. I'm lost. I lost the thread.
So we were supposed to start talking about your podcast, because I wanted to have you plug your podcast first, because usually people dip out after we've said everything we've said. So the listeners are fucked now and they have to listen to you talk about your show. So tell me about Still Loading in your own words, and what it's about, what you like about it, and all that stuff.
So the Still Loading podcast I started like 10 years ago. It's evolved a lot. It's almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years later this year. I don't know when this comes out. If this comes out before July, then it's 10 years a little bit later. If it's after July, then I already hit my 10-year anniversary. But in any case, it's a podcast that I describe as a gaming grab bag podcast that focuses on video games, their culture, and their history. So I cover a wide range of things. I do deep dives on individual games where I like to talk about the history, analyze the thematic elements of it. Like I really like analyzing thematic elements. I like a lot. That's one of my favorite things to do with games. So I try to do that if the game warrants it. I'm not going to like we're referencing Donkey Kong 64. I don't know how many thematic elements of like emotional depth we can find in Donkey Kong 64, but you know what? It's not beyond me. I will try to find a way, damn it. But so I do stuff like that, but then I also interview people in the industry. I've interviewed composers and voice actors and game designers. I've had people on like Austin Wintory, who did the music for Journey, who did the music for, he actually did Assassin's Creed. Oh shit. What was it? It was, I can't remember. It came out like 2015. He composed the music for one of the Assassin's Creed games. But he's a fantastic composer. I've had him on. I've had Sissy Jones, who's the voice of Delilah in Firewatch. I had her on. And then, game designers like Mike Micah and Stephen Frost. And they work over at Digital Clips they did like the Atari 50 collection that came out about a year ago. I kind of do a little bit of everything. And then I do weird ideas, like nothing interview or game game and analysis related. I do every year now I do an episode on the Final Fantasy fantasy draft, which is what happens when you take Final Fantasy and fantasy sports and just kind of mash them up together. And that's been a lot of fun. So I've done 2 of those. There's going to be a third one in August this year. So that's kind of Still Loading. It's a gaming grab bag because I cover a very wide range of gaming topics. It's all video game related. But it's not necessarily just game analysis or just interviews or whatnot. It's a little bit of everything.
Right. Right. Okay. That's pretty cool. I did see that you did an episode about cell phone game preservation.
Yes, Japanese feature phone preservation. So, I mean, I'm not the expert on it. My guests were the experts on it, obviously. But in Japan, in like the mid 2000s and the aughts and whatnot, flip phones over there were way more advanced than the flip phones we had here. Like they had almost like full 3D gaming already on those things, and that there's like sequels to some of your favorite series on flip phones in Japan. Like I'm talking like Final Fantasy VII, what is it? Before Crisis is a big one. There's a Devil May Cry one. There is a Mega Man one, like a Mega Man Legends style one. There is, oh my gosh, what else? I'm pretty sure there's a Monster Hunter one. I'd have to double check, but yeah, they are like, there's a lot of sequels to games and important franchises that are on feature phones in Japan. Well, not only did they never come out here in the US, but it's actually kind of funny. The issues you see with preservation of them is it's a little too on the nose for what we're dealing with now, with game companies just delisting games that you've bought and you can't get them back anymore. Or maybe they just turn off functionality for a game, even if you still own it, type of thing. And even if you still have it, it doesn't work because they turned off the servers and stuff like that. All of that stuff is stuff that has already happened in Japan back in the mid 2000s on cell phones, because cell phone services only last as long as the providers support them. So if cell phones run on 3G, and if they turn off the 3G networks in favor of like 4G or 5G or whatever the next advanced step is, that stuff goes away. So what Rockman Cosmo and Naoya Shinoda, those are the guests I had on the show, what they have been trying to do for the better part of the last 2 years is find ways to take those games, rip them off the phones that they were originally on, and preserve them in a way that can still be played today. And there is so many crazy things that they've had to do in order to hack through to get these things to work. And I've had them on twice, once the beginning of 2023 and again at the beginning of this year. And the episode this year was kind of like an update, like what it was the status of game preservation in feature phones over the last year. What advancements did they get to see? And there's a lot of cool stuff. Just a quick example of that. Last year, they were pretty much at the ground floor still. They were still just trying to figure out what to do. And at the beginning of this year, they ended up completely preserving the entirety of every single Mega Man game on feature phones, as well as a handful of others. Yeah. So there's been numerous breakthroughs, and I'm not giving credit to my own show, but because they went on podcasts like Retronauts specifically, I'm going to shout out Retronauts because they're much bigger than I am. Shows like that, they were able to spread the word, and more people came in and helped. And so because of that growth over the last year, they've been able to do amazing things. So yeah, I'm a big fan of video game history. I think the context of learning about how a game was made, and even like where a game stands in terms of the history of the medium, is super interesting and super important, because it's good to see where we came from. And so that's just part of my effort to kind of help preserve game history by talking about history, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that is pretty cool. That one stood out to me because I didn't know that cell phone gaming was such a big part of preservation. Because usually you think cell phone games, you think Candy Crush, Bubble Witch, something simple and stupid like that there's a million of copies of. But then there was a video that I think it was Did You Know Gaming made, where they're talking about cell phone game preservation and how there's games that are just completely lost to time because they only came out for a certain amount of years on a certain amount of phones, and people sell those phones online, but if you buy it, it doesn't mean that the game is going to be there, and it doesn't mean that the game will be salvageable from the phone or whatever. It's a very interesting part of game preservation that's not just consoles or PC.
And I think cell phone gaming in general gets such a bad rap. Kind of understandably, it's a lot of predatory business practices mixed into all that, where you have to watch a shitload of ads, or you have to pay money, or you have to do all this and that. But there is an element of like gatekeeping within and I'm guilty of this, mind you. I'm not like trying to make it sound like, oh, the gamers or they're mean to the cell phone gamers. I mean, that's true, but I'm also guilty of it. But like, I think what cell phone gaming in terms of the North American perspective really did was it brought back a lot more of the casual audience. Like there's a reason why after like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and games like that were super simple, and as games got more complex, the audience size dwindled, because now it's a lot harder for people to wrap their heads around it. Now with people growing up and parents growing up, now with gaming, it's that core gaming audience has expanded again. But I think cell phone gaming really brought in casuals again. They may never play, a Call of Duty or a Zelda or a Final Fantasy or any of these games that Call of Duties might as well be just like a casual game at this point too. But you get what I'm saying? A core gaming audience, they may never play that, but they still play games, and people just forget about it because it's like, well, that's not important. That, who gives a shit about Candy Crush, or who gives a shit about Farmville? I'm like, well, game history doesn't really we don't decide what's important in 50 years. We don't know who's going to give a shit and like what people in 50 years are going to be interested in or give a shit about. So it's kind of important to talk about these things, even if they seem simple and silly. I mean, I think one of the most underspoken things in game history is, this leads into what I'm going to say. Sorry. This will lead into one of the most under talked about parts of game history, but one of the most important parts of game preservation is context, historical context, what a game meant to people at the time that it came out and the story surrounding it. So for example, this wasn't one of the things this wasn't what I was originally going to lead with, but Animal Crossing New Horizons, right? If you give someone that cartridge in 50 years, let's say it even has all of the updates, every single update that they added to the game, let's say it's all crammed together in a cartridge, so they got everything that Nintendo put in, right? Let's say they can even experience it in order of progression, like what it was like originally before all the updates, and then as all the updates added on. There's still a whole lot of context missing from that, even if you just have the game data, because if you just have the game cartridge, you have no idea what it meant to people of our generation in 2020 when the whole world shut down and we had to throw fucking birthday parties on people's islands in Animal Crossing, and we had to hang out with our friends and design our islands. And so that way it was like bringing your friends into this new home that you created, and it was a way to connect with people, and it was a phenomenon in 2020 and a little bit into 2021. That's super. I mean, for fuck's sake, there was late night talk shows that had islands that they would like show on television. Like Animal Crossing was huge. That's context for the game that if you just take the game and you rip the ROM and you do all that other stuff, you don't get any of that shit. You don't know any of that stuff. So in a weird sense, podcasts like yours, like A Novel Console, like, I know you don't focus on just video games on your show, you also cover books and whatnot, but like shit like that, like just talking about games is more important than you would think, because without that context, all you have is a ROM and you don't know the importance of it. And now to take that same thought line and process and bring it back to phone gaming, Pokemon Go. The summer of 2016 was like the close. We joke around, but I'm semi serious about it. It was probably the closest to world peace that we have been in a long ass time. People of every political identity was like walking around playing Pokemon and talking to each other in parks, and it was a wonderful time. And that I don't think you can really quantify by just looking at like a rip, like if you just rip Pokemon Go off a phone, right? Context is super important, and that's what I was going to say. I don't think the summer of 2016 specifically is talked enough about in terms of the context of game history, because I feel like for crying out loud, that's going to be 8 years ago really soon, which is just
Right.
nuts to think about. But I'm sorry, that was a long-winded rant about game preservation and cell phones and feature phones. And just to be clear, I have no interest in cell phone gaming, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of games that have been delisted from the iPhone store, or the iPhone app and all that other stuff, and Android apps and all that other shenanigans. And what about the exclusives on like that were only on Android or only on iPhone or only on Windows phones? Like there are stuff like that. That's never, like, just because I don't give a shit about it doesn't mean it's not important. So that's why I always find it interesting when like when I look at feature phone games, it's kind of like my end to be like, see, these are important. So therefore, even though we may not like what modern gaming is in terms of on cell phones, it's still important because in 50 years, hopefully we can learn from the predatory business practices of freemium and shit like that, you know?
Right. So I honestly, I never would have given I think game preservation is important. I think it's very, very important, to the point where I think it's more important to save a copy of Pac-Man for the Atari is more important to preserve than the whole Beatles discography. but that's just
I
me,
mean,
right?
I guess that's a matter of opinion. I'm not even a Beatles fan, but still, either way, both are important. We can at least agree at that.
Right. But I always thought that it's very important to preserve the data, for any kind of games that were published, that weren't published, games that were released for a certain amount of time and then delisted, or games that were only online only, and then once the servers are shut down, they're gone. But I never saw that side of what was going on when the game came out. And like you said, Animal Crossing had that big attachment to it of the world shut down. This is the only place where we can hang out with our friends that somewhat brings us joy.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Pokemon. I'd never seen that side before. And I think that's a very interesting way to look at preservation apart from just saving the game itself. Mm-hmm. So that future generations can study and learn from and, apply what they see into whatever they're making. But yeah, no, you brought up predatory business tactics for games like freemium and all that shit. And that is the part that I hate about mobile gaming.
Yeah.
And that is the part that makes me not respect it and not want it to be a thing, because eventually you will see the big developers be like, oh, this shit works on phone, let's put it on consoles. And then you get bullshit like the loot boxes in Overwatch, which I don't play Overwatch, but still, that happened, and then a bunch of games adopted it. Fucking Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, which are single-player games, adopted that bullshit.
It's fucking wild to me.
Right? It's ridiculous. It's something that has no place in gaming, and whenever it's there, I feel like I'm being disrespected as a gamer and I'm being lied to as a consumer.
And it's interesting. So I agree with you. I do think that what's interesting about loot boxes specifically, kind of being like the console version of freemium almost, even though you still pay for the game, I'm of two minds with it. I'm partially loot boxes. We can vote with our dollars, and I think I don't believe that sentence for the vast majority of public. Like, you hate this evil company, vote with your dollar. I'm like, that's not going to do fucking shit.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
But in terms of games, I think it's a little bit easier because you have a lot smaller of an ecosystem than the entire public, as opposed to just the ecosystem for that specific game. And gamers have frequently been able to make their voices heard enough to do stuff like that. Now, the reason I'm of two minds with it, one, I want it to go away. I don't like freemium. I don't mind loot boxes if it's purely cosmetic and there's nothing like gameplay. Even then, I don't understand why people spend money on it. But you know what? If it's a way for the developer to make extra money and people deem it to worth value, then it doesn't affect the game. It's just literally there for kicks and giggles. So I'm cool with it.
Right. But, so as long as it's cosmetics, it's cool. But when it's actually pay to win, where if this person spends $10 and that means that they get something that makes the playing field excessively uneven in their favor, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm 100. I agree with you 100%. And like that's pretty much what every EA sports game is. It's like whether you're playing FIFA or well, it's not FIFA anymore, but if you're playing NHL or football or soccer, man, whatever, and they have the ultimate teams. It's just you're just paying for randomized digital trading cards. Essentially like they're proto NFTs before NFTs were like a thing. It's you just kind of pay to win, and even then you're just gambling. You don't know what you're going to get into a pack. What I find what the reason I'm conflicted with the microtransaction bullshit, because I hate it. I genuinely hate it. I think it's predatory, and I don't think it's good for the medium. One of the reasons games were able to stay $60 for so long is because of bullshit like that, because I was able to prop up the ballooning development costs of developing everything in HD. Because if you think about it, up until like the last year or two when they started upping games to $70, video games are one of the few products that never adjusted with inflation. It was like $60 since like the PS2 era. For like almost 20 years, it was $60 for brand new games. That's insane. Like to have shit not get adjusted for that much. I'm not saying microtransactions are worth not having to pay a little bit more per game, but that's one of the ways they kind of subsidized that's one of the ways they subsidized the cost, and so they didn't have to up the price of brand new games.
Right. Because like you said, they were uneven during the NES to the Nintendo 64 era. Prices were all over the place.
Well,
and
yeah,
then
exactly.
they
were all over the
stabilized.
place then.
They stabilized PlayStation 2 going forward, because I remember them being around $50 ish, and then PlayStation 3 they went up to 60, and they kind of stayed the same until now when they're 70, which I don't mind paying the $70, because when you adjust for inflation, a Super Nintendo game would cost you in today's dollars $120, where I would rather just pay the 70 for a brand new game than 120 for a game.
And dude, even if back in like 90s dollars, some Super Nintendo RPGs were $100 in like 90s dollars. So like you adjust that for inflation, you're looking at probably close to 150 to 200, probably more than 200 now with how much inflation has risen over the last year. But yeah, we went off on a tangent. All this game history and whatnot.
We're good. That's what the show is. I just got a notification telling me that I'm recording with you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, my phone's going off. It's like, record with Josh. So the reason why I brought you here, I love hearing people talk about the games that they grew up with, the stories that they might have an association with a certain game and a certain time in their life where, let's say like there was a summer that I just hung out the entire summer at my grandma's house. And all I did in the afternoons was just sit in the balcony with my Game Boy Advance and play, I don't know, Chain of Memories or Supersonic Warriors while listening to music on my CD player. And to me, that was a great time that I had while I was growing up. And I just want to hear and listen to people telling stories like that and what their favorite game is and why and how did it start and how they started playing, what was their first game and all that. So what is your favorite game of all time? Is it Donkey Kong 64?
No. That is a loaded question, though. That is a very, it's funny to kind of tie in our previous conversation about game history and preservation. I don't have a favorite game of all time, and I say that because I genuinely, it doesn't mean I like every game, but I think because I approach video games almost with a historical lens, even if it's a modern game, even if it's just like, I don't know, like a game that I don't think I'll like, even if it's a current game, I should say. I think pretty much every game is good in some way, shape, or form, even if I don't like the game. Don't get me wrong. There are objectively bad games, like the game is literally broken or it's janky as hell and it's programmed to shit and it doesn't work. And they do exist. I'm not saying bad games don't exist, but by and large, like most games that come out, even if they're meh, you can find something that's interesting about them, usually not when they're contemporary. Like if there's a game that's like awful now or like not great now, it's like a B or C tier game in terms of quality. You look at that 20 years later on and you'll find it interesting because you'll be like, okay, so I know what came out in 2017, but now let me try this other game that didn't get a lot of love in 2017 type of thing, or this and
Right.
that. And who knows, maybe that C tier game at the time is now like an A plus game, like 20 years later because of gaming taste change and shit like that.
I got the perfect game for that type of category of B or C, and it came out a couple of months ago. It's RoboCop Rogue City.
Oh, geez. Okay.
It is a great RoboCop game, and it's a very, very interesting RPG. And I think a decade from now, people are going to talk about it and be like, this game was fucking awesome. Why didn't people talk about it more when it came out?
I mean, dude, it's even like that with popular games or games from popular series. Like if you look at like, for fuck's sake, look at every Final Fantasy game after Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy 13 comes out, and everyone's like, this game is not that great. It's fine. It's okay, but it's not a good Final Fantasy. There's better. The older ones are better. And now you like look back on it like 15 years later and people are relitigating it. You're like, oh, you know what? We didn't give Final Fantasy 13 a fair shake. And now blah, 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 and they'll find things to like it. So I say all that because I can't really tell you what my favorite game of all time is. And I know that's a cop-out answer. I can say I will say at least, I will at least try to give an answer though. I'm just going to like leave it at nothing. The game that I would say currently, it's usually whatever I've played most recently because it's stuck in my mind. But in all honesty, I would say Red Dead Redemption 2. That one, I think I heard on your episode with Eric, you're not a fan of that, right?
It's Last of Us and anything Naughty Dog I'm not big on.
Well, Red Dead was Rockstar, but
okay,
yeah.
Yeah, so anything GTA, no. If it's not GTA by Rockstar, yes, definitely. So I absolutely loved Red Dead 2. I think that was a fantastic game.
Sorry, so you were saying you don't like Naughty Dog. That was the last thing you said.
Okay. Yes, so I don't like... I'm very meh with everything Naughty Dog. I don't think they're as good as people say they are. A whole conversation that someday I'll get into in depth. But GTA, not GTA, Rockstar. I've loved pretty much everything that Rockstar has released that hasn't been Grand Theft Auto. So I wasn't big on the first Red Dead, but looking back on it, that was a great fucking game. I didn't appreciate it enough when it came out, and I did play all of it. I absolutely loved Red Dead 2. I think it's the best Western game ever made.
Yeah.
I love Max Payne 3. I loved LA Noire when it came out. I will never play that game again, but I loved it when it came out. So I think Rockstar is great when they're away from Grand Theft Auto, because Grand Theft Auto to me is very, very pretentious, and that is something that I just don't like. Even if it's, humor and tongue in cheek and whatnot, it's not for me.
I have not played the games enough. See, I'm not a GTA fan as well, so I'm kind of with you on that. It's one of those series I want to like, but I just can't seem to get into. And I can actually kind of see your criticism of Naughty Dog. I disagree. Naughty Dog is one of my favorite developers out there, but I think the reason they get so revered in like games press and everything, they're just like, I guess they just have such a pedigree. They've had such a pedigree for years, like between Crash and Jack and Daxter and everything. But also their games just look consistently are some of the best looking in any console generation. And generally I remember you saying you don't think Last of Us has a good story. I think heartily. I think you said. Did you say that? Am I misremembering?
No, I don't think it's a great story, and the reason is because Telltale did it with The Walking Dead a year before, and it hit harder in every single way more than Naughty Dog hit, at least for me.
No, that's fair. No.
Yeah.
I totally get it. It's a personal preference. See, I disagree on the story, but I will say, and I think this of Last of Us, and I kind of think this with Uncharted. None of their gameplay elements really reinvent the wheel. They're all competent. Like, I love Uncharted. It's one of my favorite series, but the shooting mechanics and the platforming mechanics, there's nothing new, and if anything, the platforming mechanics are what we see in almost every open world game now, with like the white colored wall, like cliff ledges for you to grab onto.
Right.
That's super influential. Whether you like it or not is a personal preference. I think where Naughty Dog has excelled is with characters and with storytelling. And I understand you don't like Last of Us 1. Totally fair. I don't. I'd have to play the Telltale Walking Dead games to see the comparison you're talking about, because I have not yet. But I think they get revered because of that, and people overlook the fact that their gameplay elements aren't anything that's like universal. I would say the thing that they've done the best, believe it or not, in the last like bit in terms of gameplay specifically, I actually think Last of Us gameplay really does well to reinforce the story, because the whole thing is like you're scrounging, it's post-apocalyptic, you're trying to survive, so you have to scrounge for resources and everything in order to continue on through the game, and a lot of the different enemies you fight reinforce the narrative and stuff like that, like the themes of the narrative. So I like that. But the game, like when Last of Us 2 won Game of the Year in 2020 or whatever it was, I think it was 2020, and I would have given it to Ghost of Tsushima personally, just because Ghost of Tsushima, I had not played an open world game with like combat, like advanced combat mechanics like that, and I think that was a lot more interesting. And they also solved the issue of like constantly having markers on your map everywhere. Like did you play Ghost of Tsushima?
Oh yeah. I can agree with that. I definitely can agree with that. That Ghost of Tsushima should have won it over The Last of Us 2.
That's my opinion, though. But yeah,
as much as I love The Last of Us 2, because I loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved Abby. Everything that happened to Ellie and to Joel, and I thought it was perfect. Like, that game made me actually care for these awful fucking people that deserve that the world shit on them, right? To the point that I bought the remaster, and I cannot wait to get a chance to play it all over again. But Ghost of Tsushima is, in my opinion, it was a better game. It had a better story. The problem is that when I played it immediately after finishing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I was burnt out on that type of world.
Yeah, I could see that.
But the story and the combat was engaging enough for me to see past the open world and the game, how it's structured and whatnot, and actually be able to enjoy it, even though I was burnt out and I didn't want to touch a type of game like that ever afterwards. But yes, no, I agree with you. It's fantastic.
It's funny. I'm actually playing Horizon Zero Dawn again, like on stream and whatnot, and off stream, and I'm kind of feeling that already. Where I'm like, oh man, like this game's taking so long to play. I don't know if I'm going to want to play another open world game after this. And I have like big games that I'm currently working on for the show and whatnot. But to bring it back, 'cause once again, I told you this was not going to be a short episode. To bring it back to your original question, like with
this tangents,
favorite game of all time. Like I said, I don't necessarily have one, but the game in the last like 5 years or so that has impacted me the most has been Red Dead 2. And I say that because with Red Dead 2, when I first played it, I hated it. A lot, actually, I keep referencing your episode with Eric from the Unlockables. Your guys' criticisms of Rockstar's controls is my same criticisms. Why do I have to mash X to fucking run? Just let me fucking run. You don't need to do any of that. So there's so many things in that game that really got under my skin in terms of like the actual controls of it. And then I started getting into the story, and then I got used to the controls. And so that it was no longer this tedious thing to get used to, that was bothering me. It just became muscle memory. And then once it became muscle memory, I stopped hyper focusing on minor minutia of problems of like just regular jank that you come into contact with in almost any game, especially open world game. Like I mentioned Horizon. I try to control Aloy is like, there's so many moments where she gets stuck on rocks and shit like that. And I'm like, why did this not bother me for Horizon? But it took me a little bit to get used to with Red Dead, and Red Dead was better, like mechanically, at least when I played it. I played it after all the updates and everything. But what really,
Red Dead, you don't get stuck on a rock, you trip over it.
Yeah. But like, what really got me with Red Dead was the character of Arthur Morgan, the whole story and his whole journey. The amount of interactivity in that game is just staggering. Like, and how like there's physics, like you can shoot water troughs and like where the bullet holes are, water will pour out of it. Like they coded physics like that. Like it's insane the amount of interactivity in that game. And obviously the famous thing when they were marketing the game, horse testicles, when he goes up to the mountain, the horse testicles whoop, right up close to the body. And when it's down in the valley, it starts drooping.
Right. It's so did you play Max Payne 3?
I have not played a single Max Payne game. I own the first one, and I think that's it.
Okay, so Max Payne 3 had a bunch of the shooting stuff from Red Dead where you would be in a gunfight and let's say you would shoot somebody in the stomach and they're still alive. But as the gunfight progresses, if you don't kill the guy, eventually he will bleed out to death.
That's wild.
That is things that they implemented into Max Payne that they took and they've been implementing into their games ever since. Because the way that these Rockstar games used to feel to me is that they would release, let's say, Midnight Club, and they would take the driving from there and put it on Grand Theft Auto. And then they would take the shooting from some game and then they would put that into Grand Theft Auto as well. And they would just keep evolving all of these formulas that they had created and mastered into a package that would, be cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that even though the gameplay and everything feels great, everything else around it, I'm not interested in. So I don't care about the gang wars. I don't care about the Italian mafia, the parodies and whatever. No, I want the story to be, I don't even want to say relatable because I can't relate to Arthur Morgan. I'm not a Western desperado.
I would say the difference is that they treat the stories in Red Dead Redemption as more serious than parody. Like the stories in Grand Theft Auto are like, there's some serious moments in them from my understanding, but for the most part, the game is pretty tongue in cheek. Like the story is tongue in cheek, the humor is tongue in cheek. And in Red Dead Redemption, like Arthur's dealing with a lot of heavy thoughts and feelings that I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it. So I'll keep it spoiler free just in case. But, the big plot twist as to like what happens to him, that I'm sure you know about, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That deal, it's not something I can relate to in the sense that I did not go through the same thing he did, but it's one of those things where it's a very human emotion to be afraid of what he's afraid of. And I still look back at the scene. There's a scene on a train station with him talking to the nun, to this nun that he's helped out in some of the side missions. And it's this really heartfelt conversation where she's like trying to tell him like that he's lived a good life, if depending if you choose to be a good Arthur Morgan versus a bad Arthur Morgan. But she'll say that maybe it's the same dialogue for both, I don't know, but she says like, I know you, like I've seen how you interact, you're a good person. And obviously Arthur has done awful, heinous things, and he's just so remorseful of everything, and he's afraid and he's scared, and he's been so pent up with it, he doesn't know how to relay it, so he has to talk about it to a complete stranger because he can't say it to his friends because they're in it with him, type of thing. It's right. A really heartfelt moment, and I I think it's easier to relate to the characters in Red Dead because their reactions are more human as opposed to more parody.
Right, right. And yeah, no, definitely I can relate. The biggest part that I can relate from Arthur is when he decides I'm going to make everything right.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody has gone through that point where they're like, I really need to make things right with whatever, be it a family member, a friend, or whatever. I actually got to, do better and be better. And that segment of the story where Arthur is struggling so hard to do good because he wants to do good, but he doesn't know how or if it's working when he does. That was just incredible. It was perfect. It's great. And that's what I loved so much about Red Dead 2. And then thinking back on Red Dead 1, John went through a lot of the same stuff too.
It's definitely rough around the edges in Red Dead 1. So I totally get why. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it either. It's the first time I tried to play it, I kind of bounced off it as well, similar to you. So I feel what you're talking about, where you can appreciate it more now, but it's still like take out the gameplay enhancements of Red Dead 2. I think just storytelling wise, Red Dead 2 just blows it out of the water.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And you get attached to the side characters too, and then it hits you harder when stuff happens to them. Red Dead 2 is great. The game is fucking
Dude,
awesome. It's good.
Like I said, I'm surprised to consider it my favorite game of all time. In fact, the episode I did on it with my friend Justine, she was the one that kind of got me to try it. And I remember I ordered the game from like Best Buy, like online or something like that, and shipped to me. It was during the pandemic that I played it because we had all this extra free time. So I actually played through that. I forget, I might have played through one, and I binged through all of it, and I absolutely adored it. And it's just funny because I was texting her just whining about all the random stuff, like, why does Arthur control this way? This is dumb. Why do I have to mash X? Just complaining the whole way. And then there's probably, if I can scroll back far enough, I bet you, like, you know what? This game's turning around. I bet you there's like a set of text where you can see the change happen, in my opinion. And the story in that game has stuck with me, even though it's been 4 years, almost 4 years since I first played it. And I still like get emotional thinking about that journey. And there's very few, like there's other games that I think about and I get emotional somewhat more on a nostalgic level, as opposed to like an actual, like, this affected me personally, or this affected me emotionally. And there are some games that do both, but like this one, I think it really has done the most. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, also maybe BioShock Infinite. That's not more of an emotional thing. I love BioShock Infinite.
I have the BioShock chain tattoos on my wrist.
Oh, nice.
From the original game, right? So I get it. That when BioShock Infinite ended, I was just sitting there with the control and I was like, what the fuck happened? What did I miss? And I started looking up theories and everything, and I was like, what? I need answers. This isn't enough. And oh my God. And then the DLC came out and made the entire series like a full circle. Just
yeah, I covered it for the show, not to keep plugging my own bullshit, but like I covered it last summer, and I replayed it for those episodes, and it took me like a decade, but I finally understood the story of just the base game. I understand how it all connects together, but I finally understood the story of the base game, and I think I might have packed it up. I'll double check, but I don't think I packed it up. Oh no, it's there. I see it. After we're done recording, I will show you, because on camera, I have a statue of the Songbird.
Nice.
I have a whole bunch of BioShock stuff.
Yeah, I have the Funkos of Booker, Elizabeth, and the Songbird. I never could get the Big Daddy.
Ooh, that would be cool to get a Big Daddy one too. Yeah, but those are hands down. BioShock Infinite still sticks with me just because I think partially that's a whole nother story. I already ranted enough about Red Dead 2, but Red Dead 2 I think is arguably still my favorite game of all time, even though I don't really give any game that moniker. Red Dead 2 would be the closest.
Right. And even though it's a relatively newer game compared to what most people our age would say is their favorite game of all time, I can still respect it and see why you would say that is your favorite game of all time unofficially, because it is a fucking hell of a game. I cannot remember a game apart from Cyberpunk 2077 where I just couldn't wait to get back into it and just keep plugging at it and seeing what else there was to do and what else happened and just living in the world. Because there was days where I just lived in the world. I would just ride around, go mug people, get into poker games, just live as a cowboy for hours and hours on end.
There's a really funny, like he's a streamer. I think I don't know what his real name is. I think he's like Swole Gaming, like SWOL. He's like a super jack dude, so hence the name. But he plays Red Dead 2 on on PC, so he mods it. And so he has a whole bunch of shorts on YouTube and shit. I'll try to send you one after we're done recording, where I don't know exactly how he does it, but he modded the game so that way I guess him and a friend could be Arthur and Dutch, and they're on top of a bridge, and he does a really good like Arthur Morgan impression. And
is it a blonde dude?
Yeah, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Arthur Morgan, and welcome to Jackass." And we're going to do the bungee jump.
Great.
And he lassos Dutch, and Dutch is just dangling from top of this bridge. He's like, "Oh no, Dutch! I'm coming for you, Dutch!" And he shoots the rope, and Dutch falls down into the river. And if you pay attention, this is how you can tell it's a mod. Even if you know nothing about the game, there's fucking sharks jumping out of the waterfall, and no one notices it. There's literally sharks like in the ocean, in the creek. It's nuts.
I think I saw one of his there. He just stacked a whole bunch of horses. I think it was like 20 or 30 horses in like a train track and just waited for the trains to hit the horses.
I love it.
It's great.
His channel's awesome.
Yeah, it's very funny. So, dude, I have never met anybody ever that actually likes BioShock Infinite. I thought I was the only person that likes that game.
No, it's so good.
Yeah, because the thing is, it came out the same year as The Last of Us, and people were all over Last of Us, and everybody forgot BioShock. So I don't know if people didn't play it or they didn't like it or what. But
people played it. BioShock Infinite's interesting because it was commercially and critically successful, but it cost so much money to make that it bankrupted the developer who made it. Irrational Games isn't around anymore because of that. Now, it's funny, Ken Levine, who designed the game, is making another game. It was just not announced, but they showed an elongated trailer of it on the State of Play recently for Judas, and it looks fucking awesome. I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
I'm all for it. I think one of the reasons the game kind of gets overlooked so much is because, kind of like what your criticism of GTA was, where you think it's a little bit like what is it? I forget what you said. It's the exact same thing that people say about BioShock Infinite, where it's pretentious. That's the word.
Okay.
A lot of, especially because that story is so convoluted and complex. And you could make the argument it's unnecessarily so, and it might just be Ken Levine wanting to be like, look how smart I am. So some people kind of like, I think a criticism of it is that people consider it a little bit too pretentious. And I can see where they come from with that because of all the thematic stuff talking about, like, obviously the critiques on racism and sexism and the horrific stuff that happened in the 1920s or forever for people of color, but specifically in that era, and then also like the whole religious stuff and like the anti-religion messages and like, listen, and I'm not going to shove this down any listener's throat. I'm a Christian. It doesn't bother me that he like really shits on religion in that, because honestly, religion deserves to be shit on a lot. So I even as a Christian, I will I hate you. I almost feel weird calling myself that, because I I won't go into it. It's a whole thing. I'm very disillusioned with the religious side of Christianity, if that makes sense. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
with BioShock Infinite, it's very on the nose, but I could understand how that could rub some people the wrong way, even if you're not religious, because sometimes when a message is just too on the nose, it gets a little annoying. It's like, we get it, you don't like this, you don't have to keep telling us you don't like this type of thing. It never bothered me with BioShock Infinite, and more than anything, what I liked about it, and I talked about it on my episode too, both the original BioShock and BioShock Infinite, the kind of sci-fi elements that they involve all revolve around scientific discoveries that were occurring at the time period the game takes place in. So in the 50s, it was dealing with a lot of like the human genome was cracked. People understood how DNA, like they understood DNA was like a helix and shit like that. So what was the powers in the original BioShock? Literally splicing your genes, literally changing your DNA so you could have superpowers. So they took that real world science fiction, the science concept of learning how DNA works and how DNA is sequenced, and being like, okay, let's take this to a sci-fi extreme. In the 1910s, because I think Infinite takes place in 1912 or something like that. Everything that was going in there was like quantum mechanics and quantum theory and shit like that. So they took that idea of like all the theoretical physics and bullshit and shit and said, what if we did the parallel world theory into a game? And that's where the big plot twists and other stuff of BioShock Infinite comes in. Sorry, spoiler alert for listeners. But yeah,
it's sold enough.
I think that's a cool thing to do, where they pick a historical time period or they use the science that was being discovered at the time and take it and like, let's make this science fiction. And I think that's kind of cool. What are they going to do with Judas? I don't know, because that seems to take place in the future. So I have no idea.
I feel like Judas might be the perfect marriage of System Shock and BioShock, because Ken Levine was one of the people involved in System Shock. So
yep, I've been meaning to play System Shock too.
All right, like if it's that, I'll be perfectly happy with it. I think the man can create a great game. So
same. I like his design philosophies. I like his storytelling. I like the stories in both BioShock 1. I never played 2, but I know that wasn't developed by him or his team. It was a different team.
2 but is great.
That's
2,
what everyone says. I need to.
Yeah, you should. It's not BioShock 1, but it is a great game.
I do own it, and I should really get around to playing it. So
definitely.
yeah, there's not a lot of, you're right, not a lot of people give love to BioShock Infinite. The guest that I had on it was Mick Arcade. He's a huge fan of it. So if you ever want to gush about it with someone else, he's a huge fan of BioShock.
Just talk
Infinite.
to Mick. Okay. Yeah, no, because when it came out, I remember I was talking with a buddy of mine, and he was like a manager at GameStop, and he had quit recently after the game came out, and he was just getting off of gaming entirely after he quit GameStop. And I kept telling him, like, dude, you just need to play BioShock before you quit. If this is the last video game you ever play, make it BioShock Infinite. And I don't know if he ever did, but that game.
You set up this story as like, and he's still playing games today, but no, you're like, I don't know if you ever played it.
I don't know if you ever played it. No.
what a letdown,
right? He
to this day he hates video games, and he curses the companies that make it.
He I think he works in Border Patrol, and I think he just searches for illegal games coming into the country so he can shoot them.
That's how he adds to his collection.
Right. He just has like a bunch of game cases with bullet holes on his wall.
Oh God. I wasn't going to go that far, but
yeah, no. So you have like basically an interest. From what I'm gathering, you love modern games. Like,
I love all. I actually do a lot of retro stuff too.
Okay.
So yeah. Sorry. So like,
what are a few retro games that you absolutely love?
Ooh. So recently, I actually beat Donkey Kong Country for the first time, the original Super Nintendo DKC. Loved it. I actually think it holds up better than I was expecting it to. Obviously, love Mario. Who doesn't love Mario? One of the earliest gaming memories I have, actually, and I did an episode on it somewhat recently. I got to stop shouting out my own bullshit. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm
you're
just
good.
plugging.
You're good, dude.
I One of my earliest gaming memories, there is a obscure Macintosh game called Power Pete. It is a top-down shoot 'em up action game. Like it was later renamed Mighty Mike, and actually you can legally download the entire game for free. Like you don't need to install anything. You can just download the exe with all the files and you can play it. But it came out in like the early 90s, and it is this awesome action game where you play as this action figure named Pete, or Mike, I guess, in later iterations. And you have to rescue the new hot toy in the toy store, these fuzzy bunnies who are like scattered throughout the toy store, and all the other toys are jealous and angry at them. So you have to kill the other toys so you can save the bunnies. And you get literally like dozens of weapons. You have suction cup guns and jawbreakers are the collectible suction cup guns, excuse me. You have rocks, you have rubber band shooters, you have oh my goodness, like toothpaste guns and stuff like that. It's all like kind of toy store themed type of thing, and it's a really fun shooter, and I played it a ton as a kid, and no one ever talks about that game. I really love that game. It's one of my favorite childhood games, and it holds up decently now. The controls are a little floaty, but considering you can literally legally download it for free from the developer, who I think has since shut down. It was developed by a company called Pangea Software. They actually ended up making a bunch of games for iPhone and stuff like that before they shut down. But they have all their games out there now a lot of their games out there now for free, and it's really cool. Power Pete was a really fun game, and it's got a decent soundtrack. It's got some pleasant visuals. It's got a lot of weapons. Like my favorite weapon in the game, there's like these exploding birthday cakes that do like AoE damage. It's fucking great. It's a great game.
That sounds like fun. It looks a lot like is it Ikari Warriors for the NES? It looks like one of those jungle.
I would say
Commando
better
games
graphics than the.
Yeah.
It was definitely better graphics than the NES, but maybe like the arcade version of it for sure. Yeah, but I'm actually a collector. I mean, you can see a little bit of it behind me on camera here. I actually have like a bunch of original Nintendo games, a bunch of Super Nintendo games, Genesis, N64. What you can't see, I'm actually in the process of tearing this game room down because my wife and I are trying to find a new house to move into, and I don't know if I'll have a game room there, so I'm having to put a lot of this stuff into storage, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. So I'm in the process of tearing it down, but like I have games for the Atari 2600 all the way up to the PS5.
Oh Jesus, that is a collection. That is a lot.
I've been at it for a while. I would say some of my favorite Super Nintendos, obviously Final Fantasy VI, which was 3 over here in North America. I have Chrono Trigger. What's another favorite like Super Nintendo that's not just like some. I have Earthbound. I do have Earthbound. I like Earthbound.
Man.
I like Earthbound. Mega Man X is really good, obviously. I would try to find like obscure weird games that I'm not saying these are good, but I would go to my local game store and I would bring like $10. I'm like, all right, what can I get for $10? I don't care what it is. It just has to look interesting. I found a Super Nintendo game called Power Pigs of the Dark Ages. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is, but it's got a weird cartoon style on the art, and it's this weird like action platformer. It's super bizarre. But there's a game there's also one. It's Pink Panther Goes to Hollywood, but the side of the on the cartridge itself, where it has like the title on the side of the cart, it just says Pink Goes to Hollywood. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? What do you mean Pink Goes to Hollywood? And then when you look
Pink
at
the
it,
singer?
they just drop the word Panther. It's the Pink Panther, but they just dropped the word Panther. So yeah, My friend Jal is gonna get a kick out of this. Kabuki Quantum Fighter for the NES. I shout that out all the goddamn time. That is a super underrated NES platformer. That's awesome to check out. So yeah, dude, I collect bits of everything. I have game collectibles, the
Kabuki.
games itself.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
a bunch of the consoles. Are you looking up Kabuki Quantum Fighter?
Yeah, I've seen this before. I've been meaning to put this on the Steam Deck.
It's kind of
'Cause
awesome.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody talk about this recently, but I don't remember who it was. It might have actually been Jala, but
Dude, you should hold on. I gotta the just for the listeners, you gotta know what the premise of this game is. So the plot. I'm reading this off of Wikipedia because I don't have it memorized, but in the year 2056, we're only 22 years away from this, or
right.
sorry, 32 years away from this. In the year 2056, a virus has appeared in the main defense computer of the planet Earth. The origin and nature are unknown. Players adopt the persona of 25-year-old Colonel Scott O'Connor, a military agent who has transferred his brain into raw binary code using experimental technology in order to combat a rogue program in the main defense computer. That's a run-on sentence. It's so long. When O'Connor enters the system, his body forms the self-image of his great-grandfather, who was a kabuki actor. So, just so listeners can hear this, Scott O'Connor has a Japanese grandfather who was a kabuki actor. The virus in the virtual world takes on properties of an actual virus. It leaves behind debris, mutant creatures, and parasite environments of a biological nature. And then it deals with the final level. So yeah, that's what Wikipedia has it as the plot. So I love plots of old NES games. Actually, not to shout out another episode, but it was like 4 years ago. I did an episode called Still Loading Storytime where me and a bunch of friends did dramatic readings of old NES manuals. And it was all shit like that. Just like wild, wonky stories.
I got to check that out because that sounds like a lot of fun. I love dramatic readings of stuff.
I mean, that was before I really knew what I was doing with the show. It was a fun experimental idea. It's one of those things where I don't know. I tried listening to it back to it again, and I was just embarrassed. But I think that's more just because of like myself as opposed to like what I don't know if the episode's good or not is what I'm trying to say. It might still be good. Okay. It might. Either way, whether it's good or not, I'm happy I tried it because I had a lot of fun doing it. So
yeah, no, that's what counts. So I got a couple more questions for you.
Go
for
for
first one. Have you ever tried the Yakuza series?
Actually, I have a friend of the show, Matt Storm. I asked them if they wanted to come on the show sometime, and I asked for a bunch of games, and they suggested Yakuza 0. I started it, I have not beaten it. I've probably logged about 15 to 20 hours into into Yakuza 0, and that's about all I've really touched of the series.
Okay. So, man, 15 to 20 hours, you probably haven't seen much of the story.
I mean, I get the gist of it with Kiryu getting framed for a murder he did not commit, while the what's the other character's name who runs the nightclub? Majima. With him not wanting to run the nightclub, with him kind of relegated to that. I did find out why. I forget why, but I do remember there was a story beat where he was too zealous over something, and then because of that, he got relegated to running the nightclub. At some point, I'm assuming their two paths are going to cross in some way. I don't know how just yet, but yeah, right now I'm still going back and forth between Kiryu's story and Majima's story.
Okay. Well, I'm very happy that Matt got you to start with Zero. Zero is fantastic. And if Zero doesn't grab you, then Like a Dragon definitely will, because you have to play Like a Dragon. It's such a good JRPG.
I'm enjoying it so far. I do like all the I understand when people say why the side quests are what makes the series, because they're all just fun and goofy and silly, and the side characters are really like the one side quest that really just made me laugh was there's the one where it's this girl who wanted to learn to be more assertive, so she became a dominatrix, and she doesn't know how to be a dominatrix, so you have to help her become a dominatrix and like like basically boss around this dude who likes being like trampled on pretty much. It's a really funny, kind of bizarrely heartwarming side story, considering that she wants to be a dominatrix, but still, you know what, to each their own, I guess.
Right. Oh man, that that is a good sub story. I forgot about that one being a sub story.
Oh, it's stuck with me. You want to talk about like Arthur Morgan's thematic journey, and now we're going with dominatrix girl wanting to like. What are the themes of that? No, it was memorable. It was funny.
Yeah, I remember playing Zero, and I had played 1 and 4 before I played Zero. And I really liked it, but it took me a long time to finish it because I kept bouncing off for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was like a story moment where I was like, oh, fuck. This is what I want to keep seeing. I want to see if the game has more of this. And I just took off in that game. A buddy of mine, Thrak, he hosts 3DO with Bill,
yeah, I've guessed it before. Thrak was the permanent co-host of that. I was the second guest on that podcast.
Oh, nice. So he loves Like a Dragon, but he has never gotten to that part in Zero where it's like, okay, now you're in, you got to finish. Because every time he stops playing it, he stops like immediately right before that scene happens. Once you see the scene, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is stakes are definitely high in this, and it just goes from there. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier. So once you finish the game and you do the episode, I'm definitely going to be locked in because I want to know your full thoughts on the whole thing, especially if you're doing the episode with Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get back to it. Maybe after. So I'm currently playing Horizon Zero Dawn, like I said, kind of actually. So I finally got a PS5. I was not able to buy a PS5 for years. Finally got one because of my wonderful patrons. They like that money's going back into the show because the first game I get I still don't own a game. Just put in perspective, I saved up enough money through Patreon to buy the system, and I did get Astro's Playroom, but that's not really big enough of a game for me to cover on the show. That might be like a bonus episode for Patreon or something like that. I don't know. But the first game my birthday's coming up, and I'm still a grown ass man who asked for video games from his parents. So I'm going to be asking for some PS5 games, and we'll see what I get. I'll probably cover one of them on the show. But in preparation for that, because I do want to play Forbidden West, I'm replaying Zero Dawn. Maybe I'll I did an episode on Zero Dawn back in 2020, but I kind of want to redo it for various reasons. So who knows? Maybe I'll do both. After that, though, I have to play Toe Jam and Earl for the Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on where you are in the world. And then I have to play Dirge of Cerberus for the PS2, because what I did in January on Patreon, I did a backlog month poll where I put 16 games up on a poll, and the 4 games with my patrons could vote for as many of those games as they want. It wasn't just a one and done. They could vote for 8 of the 16 if they wanted to. They could vote for all 16 if they wanted to. But whichever 4 games ended up with the most votes are the winners, and those were the ones I would play during backlog month. So the 4 games that ended up winning, the Order 1886 for the PS4.
Great game.
Already beat that. I actually had that one scheduled and we had to postpone, so I actually got to reach back out to the guest for that to record it while it's still fresh in my mind. Second game, Donkey Kong Country. That's why I beat that somewhat recently. So I'm already 2 out of the 4 down, which is fantastic. Next one is Toe Jam and Earl, and then the last one's going to be Dirge of Cerberus, which I have to play on original hardware, which is cool, but then I find it, if I can stream it, I hold myself accountable for it a little bit more. So I might have to stop streaming for a little bit just so that way I can force myself to, during my normal streaming hours, play on my off stream consoles and stuff like that. So once all that is done, I could probably get back into, I say all that to, once all that is done, I can get back into Yakuza 0.
Right. No, I totally get it. The my patrons voted for what's it called? Star Ocean, the second story R.
Oh, you poor soul.
And I was playing it and absolutely fucking loving the shit out of it. It is a fantastic game.
It's long. That's why I was saying poor soul. Not that I've never played it. I can't say it's bad. I know they're long.
I mean, it's like 50 hours with each character. So you have like 100 hours that you have to play through, which, whatever, I'll get it done. But the new Yakuza game came out and that has just sucked my entire life. It is so fucking good. So I get it. I get it. And today
it's all about balance.
Oh yeah. Today Persona 3 Reload came out, and that's something else that I want to go through entirely because that is my favorite Persona game. But
dude, talk about it. I started that Persona 3. I got very far into it and I got stuck on a boss and I have not been able to beat the I don't want to say I was over leveled or anything, but like I was doing fine on all the bosses. I didn't struggle that much. Like it was a challenge, but never too challenging. And there's this boss where it just hits like a goddamn train and has it takes a boatload of damage and has a high defense. It's like 3, I forget what they are. I forget what level of what's the school? It's not the TARDIS. That's Doctor Who. What's the thing that you're
Tartarus.
Thank you. I forget what level of the Tartarus that it's in, but I'm stuck on it and I'm pissed off because I loved the story it had been setting up. And I kind of vaguely remember everything with like the whole, it's not the midnight hour. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the midnight hour. Yeah.
The midnight hour, the hour that stands still and everyone can like, there's like demons that walk around and shit like that, except for you. And you can use your personas to fight them. Right. And you're trying to get rid of the midnight hour and you meet a group of people who are trying to keep it because they want to feel powerful. And Junpei it has like I think it's Junpei. Junpei is interested in one of the girls in that evil group. So now there's some intrigue as to like whose side is going to join whom and whatnot. So I think the last thing I did, we just finished up a vacation. Like everyone went on vacation together at like some beach resort thing. And we came back and there's a boss in the Tartarus that I'm stuck on.
You got pretty far into it. I'd say that's almost halfway through.
I was
a little bit more than half.
I was pretty far, dude. But that boss, like and every strategy guide that I look up, they're like, you just got to brute force it. I'm like, God damn it. Like there's got to be something that I'm missing here. There's
nothing wrong with kicking it down to easy and just abusing it. That's how I'm going to play the game. I'm going to play it all over again.
You know what? Easy. I might just do that. Because I can't fucking beat it on normal. I still have my memory card in my PS2 with, I guarantee you the disc is still in there. So I might get around to actually beating it this year.
Are you playing FES or the original Persona 3?
It's FES.
FES. Okay, so you're playing the good version of the game.
That's what people keep telling me. I don't think I'm going to play like, because there's like the original and then there's like a second
post story.
Post story. I don't think I'm going to do the post story. The first game's long enough.
I've never played the post story. I am definitely interested in it. Hopefully they turn it into a DLC for the remake because it tackles a lot of stuff from the ending of the base game. And the ending of the base game is one of those endings that sticks with you for a long time.
It's what I want to. I like it. I don't remember a lot of the. It's been 2 years since I last played it, so it's been. Okay. It's been a bit of time.
Damn it, but you remember all that from 2 years ago?
Yeah. That's how much it stuck with me. I was hooked on it. On my Instagram, if you go to my Instagram, at @StillLoadingPod over on Instagram, on my Instagram, there's like, you know how like you can have like those story reels, like where you can save reels and whatnot? I have a Persona 3 set from when I was playing it, and let me double check. How long ago was it? It was February of 2022. Is when I started playing again, February 5th. And I forgot I named my character Reginald. So Reginald Flurfbin was his my character's name. I don't, and so every time they say Reginald Coon, I'm like Reginald Coon.
That's very Rick and Morty name. That's funny.
Yeah, so it's all just like, yeah, I have a whole bunch of like, how far does it say where I'm at? I don't know. The last update I had was March 4th, which doesn't mean much. I was fighting tanks, like these like enemies that are tanks. I don't think those are the bosses though, but
No,
yeah.
those are just regular enemies. It's just tanks with faces.
Yeah. So yeah. I've been meaning to get around to it, and I will at some point. Just not just yet.
That is a very, very good game. That was. I don't even know how I managed to get a hold of that game when I bought it. And I bought the FES version. I went through all of it. And then when it came out on PSP, I played all of the PSP, the P3P version, and had an amazing time just the same. It really is my personal favorite Persona game. I know that it's Rick Firestone's favorite too. So that's something that we bonded over. And yeah. Not Bill's. Bill's is 4.
When I inevitably do my Persona 3 episode, when I finally fucking beat that game, I'm going to just knock it down to easy. I don't care anymore. I think at this point, if I haven't touched it in 2 years because I'm too mad at this goddamn boss, then I think I'm playing on normal. I think that's what I was doing. So I'll knock it down. But the way I actually got my copy was, I remember my friend Andrew, who's been on the show a few times, he loves Persona 3 and 4, loves them, and was telling me all about them. So I tracked them down at GameStop back when they were still selling PS2 games, and I actually got my Persona 3 copy has one of the shitty like GameStop printed labels, but the disc is FES. And then Persona 4, it's complete. It's got all the original artwork, got the original manual and the game. So it's somewhere back there. I have it on one of those shelves. So eventually I'll get around to actually playing both, finishing 3 and playing 4.
Okay. Oh, definitely. They are. I don't even want to say they're okay. So I'm not going to say that they're games that a gamer must play. They are games that a weeb must play. If you want to call yourself a weeb, you got to finish them. Because there's no other reason why you would play them. They're fucking fantastic games. They're so good.
Unless you want to call yourself Reginald Coon, then that's a game. That's a way you can play it, or just be called Coon or something like that. Your first name and Coon, Reginald Coon,
right?
I think the first time this is the second time I've tried playing it, and I named my character something weird both times. This time, like I said, Reginald Flurfbin. It's a dumb, I don't know. It's a dumb name. The first one was Boom Gunstick.
Boom Gunstick.
First name Boom, last name Gunstick.
Gunstick Sun Senpai.
Gunstick Coon.
That's funny. So let's see what else. So you're giving Yakuza a try. You got a PlayStation 5 recently, which is fantastic. Oh, I remembered. Ratchet and Clank. Apparently you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, according to your Twitter.
Yes. Huge Ratchet and Clank fan. I've been a fan. Are
you going to play the new one?
100%.
Rift in Time.
Oh, absolutely. I have been like, the Rift in Time was the only reason I wanted a PS5 for years. Now I actually want to play Final Fantasy 16 as well, though I know that's a bit more polarizing of an entry in the franchise. But like we said with 13, wait 10 years, we're going to see what people think about 16. We'll see. But no, huge Ratchet and Clank fan. It's one of the few game series that like I just adore every entry, even the weird obscure ones where they did one called oh my god, what's it called? It's not Into the Nexus. It's I forget what it's called now. But basically it's like their version of a tower defense game. It was Full Frontal Assault. That's what it was. Ratchet and Clank Full Frontal Assault. And it was like a combination of a Ratchet and Clank game with a tower defense game. And it's filled with Ratchet and Clank humor and meme humor. Like, to put in perspective, that game came out when Gangnam Style came out, and you can tell. for better or worse.
That was 2012 on the PS3.
Yeah, 2012. Yep.
Oh man.
So I love the Ratchet and Clank games, man. Specifically, everything like the first game is really good, but Ratchet and Clank 2, Going Commando, and Onward, all fantastic. Like they all kind of have like a similar gameplay style, and then they kind of reinvented it slightly with Into the Nexus in like 2012 or something, like maybe 2013 when that came out. And then there's only been 2 games since. It's been the Ratchet and Clank remake from 2016 or 15 or whatever, and then Into the Nexus in 2021 or 2, whatever year.
So I really, really liked Rift Apart. I did everything. I didn't get the platinum, but I did pretty much everything there is to do. And it felt like one of those games that while you're playing it, you're getting close to the end and you're kind of delaying finishing it because you don't want it to be over. It looked great. It played great. And it made me want to try out the previous ones because I had only just played the first one. So I decided to start all over again with the first one and finished it and then started the second one. And I was like, I need a break. And I never went back to it.
But
which
you can
I need
see
to because they're great.
Which version of the first one did you play? Like the original PS2 version or the remake from 2016?
I know that I've played a lot of the remake, but I haven't gotten very far into it. I did play all of the first one.
Okay.
The PS3 version that they released on Vita.
The HD remake. The HD remake.
Yes.
Yeah. The first one is so interesting because you can see the foundations of everything that was going to come, but it wasn't quite refined just yet. Like when you are switching weapons, it doesn't pause, so you have to like really like plan out your weapons ahead of time. You can only put 8 weapons on your weapon wheel. You can't cycle through weapon wheels like you can in later games. There's no leveling up to your weapons. There's a lot of the other mechanics are a little bit floatier and stuff like that. The controls are a little bit different, but it's still like a really solid game, even despite those flaws. Like this, I mean, at the time, I would say it wasn't a flaw. That was what it was. But now, those controls don't hold up to what we're used to. But I love the series, dude. It is my favorite series. It's weird because I said Red Dead 2 is my favorite game, but like as much as I love Ratchet and Clank, none of the games are my favorite games. But the series as a whole is my favorite series.
I can understand that. I definitely can. That I really need to play them because I feel like there's something there that I can latch on to and enjoy a lot. Because I do like, like I think it's on the first one. There's those grenades that you throw, and it just summons like a little robot that just eats the enemy. And then it gets to the point where you have like a bunch of those little robots just running around.
In the second game, you get a weapon called the Sheepinator, and you just turn all your enemies into sheep. So if there's a bunch, and the bigger the enemy, the longer it takes to turn them into a sheep. So you kind of have to be careful with it. But it's fun because if you get a lot of small enemies, and you'll just have a whole flock of sheep just baying in the middle of a battlefield, just meh, meh. And if you upgrade it, you'll get the Black Sheepinator, which after a little bit they explode.
Oh, what the fuck? That's great.
Dude, I love that game series. There's so much.
Oh man, I know you're definitely gonna love Rift Apart then because there is some great humor in that one as well.
In all honesty, that might be the first. Like what I'm hoping to do is that when, like I said, I'm a grown ass man asking my parents to buy me video games for my birthday. Whatever game they get, one of them I have to do for the show this year. I'm going to make it a goal because I feel like if my patrons helped get me that. Like get me the PS5 in the first place, I have to put it back into the show. Otherwise, it's just me.
Right.
Like I don't know. I understand that they're doing it to support me, but at the same time, I at least want to make it so it's not just like here I went on vacation with your money or something like that. But I guess once you get patron, it's like whatever you want to do with it. I don't know. I'm weird about it.
No, I definitely get it. We don't have a lot of patrons, but we have enough that whatever they pay for monthly covers the hosting site.
Mhm.
So that on its own is more than enough for me. If there were any left over, we would do like we did at the beginning, where we would just pool it until we have enough to buy a game or a book, and then just give it out to the community. So if it gets to a point where we have like leftovers, then we will just go back to doing that, just pooling.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, because Patreon does say you can't host giveaways, but it doesn't say that you can't host giveaways somewhere else if they're subscribed to your Patreon. So.
Discord, baby. I mean, what?
Right. Right.
Sorry, I cut you off though. You were in the middle of another like sentence or question before I brought that up.
I don't remember. Must have not been important. I remembered. The new character that they introduced, voiced by Jennifer Hale. That character is great. She is fantastic. I think you're definitely going to like her as well.
I just love Ratchet and Clank, man. I'm in almost every incarnation, and Jennifer Hale is fantastic. I love her. I love her performances in almost any game she's in. I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to try it out because I've heard nothing but good things about it. I know it didn't. Ratchet and Clank games don't sell as well as they used to. Like they're not the marquee titles that they used to be. I joke around on the what is it? I shouldn't say joke around. Back in 2020, I did a series called "The Summer of PS2" in honor of of PS2's 20th anniversary, and I kicked it off by covering the first games in each of like the big 3 platformers series for the PS2: Jak 1, Jak and Daxter 1, Ratchet and Clank 1, and Sly Cooper 1. I feel like those 3 had this like war of the platformers on the PS2 era, and everyone has their favorite. Mine was Jak and Daxter, and now it's Ratchet and Clank. But everyone has their favorite.
Yeah. I didn't have a PlayStation 2 while that was happening, while they were relevant. I got it later on. But I do remember thinking, why does Sony need 3 mascots? And it's that they were all trying to be the mascot.
The only one still around is Ratchet. I'm just saying.
Right. And Ratchet and Clank not Ratchet and Clank. Jak and Daxter, they haven't gone anywhere since that last Jak X game.
Well,
at least Sly Cooper got a game on PlayStation 3.
You're right. It got a new game. It got a 4th entry into the series. Jak and Daxter is interesting because the first game is a straight up 3D platformer, and then games 2 and 3 are a GTA clone. And it's just, It's very, GTA clone with actually a really damn good story. I'm not going to lie. I actually think the story in Jak 2 and 3 is really good, but it's mired in some of the most aggressively difficult gameplay you will ever experience because the controls are just, eventually I'm going to cover that game on the show though. Like I have the PS3. I actually have PS4 versions of the Jak and Daxter games as well, so I should cover it at some point.
Oh, the Jak collection that came out on PS4.
From Limited Run. I actually have the collector's edition of Jak 1. I couldn't justify spending it for Jak 2 and 3 because it was like $150 a piece. Oof. So I just bought the first one. I'm like, I like the first one. The first one's my favorite, so I'll splurge on that.
All right. I wanted to like Jak 2 and 3, but again, it's that Naughty Dog thing where the shooting is awful.
Yeah.
The platforming can be very tedious, and the checkpoint system doesn't exist. So it's either do it in one go or fuck you. And I couldn't do it, dude.
Jak 1, I think, is legitimately good as a 3D platformer. It's got lots of fun. Like it's got a lot of fun elements. It's got really cool, varied worlds. The world itself is actually really fun and interesting. The storyline's not great. It's just there's nothing crazy. It's fine. But Jak 2, like I said, Jak 2 and 3 has, I think, a fantastic story. But you can really tell them trying to figure out shooter mechanics in those first 2 games, and it is not working. It's not working. Like it is rough, dude. It is rough to play that game now. I love that game. I have a lot of nostalgia for it, but it's rough. See, versus like the Uncharted games, I know we mentioned before, like it's one of your favorites. It's not a favorite of yours, but like I still enjoy going back and playing those. Like the thing is, like the gameplay in those, everyone talks about how the first one is really janky. I've never experienced that. I've never felt that game was janky at all. I don't know what people are doing to cause it to be janky, because I've heard it from more than one person, but I've never had an issue with it. But I think just the reason I like those Uncharted games is like the kinetic feeling of the actions. Like every time, like the way it sounds so fucking dark. The way you shoot an enemy, the way the bullet hit sounds and everything, it's just satisfying. And like the hand-to-hand combat was always kind of amusing, like not great, but like I said before, the gameplay mechanics were always at least serviceable, except for Jack 2 and 3. Those are rough, but there was always at least serviceable, so I always enjoyed it. And then plus the story around it, like the character of Nathan Drake, I always found fun. But I can also understand why people would get tired of him. He's a little smarmy, so I could understand if people don't like the character of Drake.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing. But I've never played 1. I played 2, and
2 I think
can't
is
say
legit
that
good.
I can see how arguably it could be considered good. Personally, the platforming feels not right, and the shooting feels not right. And then the enemies later on get incredibly tough. Like whenever you get to the Yetis or whatever the fuck they are.
Yep.
I didn't finish that game. I struggled so hard with it and I just dropped it.
So,
then 3, I actually liked 3.
Really?
And then, yes, I feel like 3 was a massive improvement over 2.
In terms of...
And then...
Yeah, sorry, I'll let you finish. I keep cutting you off. Sorry,
No, you're good. I was just going to go on to 4. We'll talk 4 afterwards. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, so 1 is them solidifying, like learning, getting their footing in the mechanics in the genre. 2, I think, is the best, not the best paced. I think, how can I put this? So 2 really redefined like cinematic platforming and action and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of really cool moments in that game that like you had not seen prior in games just yet, especially in that cinematic sense. 3, I think, has some of the better gameplay. Like they refined hand-to-hand combat really well in that game. There is a lot of cool shooting mechanic. Like the shooting mechanics are a lot better, but the structure of the story is absolutely bullshit. Like there's a section. They have cool moments. They have some of the coolest set pieces, but that game very much reeks of the problems with Naughty Dog design philosophy, where Naughty Dog design philosophy, I don't know if it's true or not, this is just kind of how I've quantified it in my head, is where they will design a space and then figure out how to put the gameplay into it, versus something like Insomniac, they will design a gameplay mechanic and then design the space around the mechanic so that way it works best for the gameplay. That's why in Naughty Dog games,
makes sense.
And there's moments where it's like, why is there this hallway that doesn't have anything down it? There's nothing here. It's because they designed the space first and then they designed the gameplay second. Likewise, when they're designing the story of of Uncharted, they come up with set pieces and then figure out how to piece the story together using those set pieces. It can work, but in 3 specifically, they have this one of the coolest set pieces in the entire series, the capsized ocean liner, where you're having to platform on it and like open up doors. It's a really fantastic section in terms of game design.
Yeah.
In terms of plot, you can literally rip that whole section out and it does fuck all to the plot. It means nothing. There is no point for Drake to be on there because he gets captured and they're like, we're going to give you to these pirates because blah, 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 because story reasons. He escapes from the capsized ocean liner and washes up on the beach where he started. And he goes, oh, that was convenient, and moves on. Like they try to write it off as a joke. And I actually kind of admire them for trying to almost like noticing like, hey, this is kind of dumb, but we'll if we recognize it, it's okay, right? And it's fine. That game actually has some of the best character moments between Drake and Elena until Uncharted 4. And I like the gameplay stuff, but in terms of story, it's all over the place. And part of it is behind the scenes. The voice actor who played Cutter didn't realize he was contractually obligated for some other thing. I forget, it was like a movie or a show or another game, but that's why Cutter suddenly disappears like 30 minutes into the game, because the actor who was portraying him couldn't continue on with production, so they had to write him out of the script abruptly. So I think it's why Uncharted 3 doesn't sit well with me, because Uncharted 2, I think the reason it like sorry, I'm all over the place. Uncharted 1 and 3, the way they end those games is with the final, like, did you finish 3?
Yes.
So, you know how at the end of 3, it's basically just all QuickTime events. That's the final boss. It's just all QuickTime events. The whole thing is like there's a gauntlet of enemies you have to fight, but the final confrontation with the villain is just QuickTime events. In Uncharted 1, it's very similar to that as well. It's you fight a small gauntlet and then it's QuickTime events. In Uncharted 2, you fight a gauntlet of enemies and then you actually fight the boss. You have to fight. I forget the dude's name, but he's like a private military warlord type of dude. That's bothering me. I can't remember the character's name, but you have to. He's like roided out on this like supernatural substance, which I won't spoil for the listeners what it is, and he chases you. So the way you have to defeat him is run, like you can shoot him like running from behind and kind of spray, but there are like environmental objects. I don't want to say what they are because it'll spoil some of the story. There are environmental objects that will explode when you shoot them, and they can come back. Like the environmental objects can come back, so you kind of have to maneuver around this small space with him chasing you and try to lure him past these traps, so that way you can shoot these explosive things, and that's how you take him out. And so it actually takes the mechanics that you've learned from the game of running, shooting, dodging, shooting, like aiming down the sight, or like aiming, and it actually takes all the mechanics that they've taught you throughout the whole game, and then it applies them to the final boss, which in my opinion is good game design. When Uncharted 1 and 3, doesn't matter what you do with, like, doesn't matter what you've learned throughout the game. The final boss, the way you take out the final villain is with a QuickTime event. Uncharted 4 bridges the two kind of nicely. It makes the QuickTime events a little bit more cinematic, and I don't hate the final boss of Uncharted 4, excuse me. I don't know if I said 2. Uncharted 4 bridges them kind of nicely, where it's a little bit of like some QuickTime events, a little bit of some fighting mechanics and this and that. So I kind of like, I like 4's ending the most, or not the most. I like 2's ending the most because of the boss, but I think 4 has the better story by far. Like, it's not even a question.
You know, that I really, really liked 4. I always say that Uncharted 4 is the game that Naughty Dog actually did where they deserve everything that people say about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the game that the first game they've ever released is actually a great game, in my opinion.
Oh, that's fighting words considering they made Crash Bandicoot and Uncharted. I think Uncharted 2 is legitimately a great game, but I can understand not liking it. Like, I get it. Like, especially, I also think, like, in general, PS3 era, like, shooters are rough till it gets to like late stage PS3, and Uncharted 2 kind of suffers from that a little bit.
So they not only did they put Nathan Drake and his brother together for the adventure, and they are Nolan North and Troy Baker as brothers, which is fucking perfect. They fixed all of the issues that I had with the shooting, and a lot of the issues. They didn't fix all of them, but a lot of the issues that I had with the platforming. I thought the game was great from start to finish, to the point that as soon as I finished it, I bought the one with Nadine and Chloe to continue playing.
That's a good game. That's a game that no one talks about. It's really good.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit too short, but it was still pretty great.
They only charged you $40 for that one too, though. Like,
I think I got
That
it for
wasn't
20. It was a few
yeah.
years afterwards.
So like I think I like that. I wish that devs would do shit like that more often. Like, don't give us just the gigantic $70 experience. Give us like smaller experiences and charge a little bit less. Like, you don't have to constantly like I don't know. I'm conflicted with the whole like cost to length ratio that people always talk about. Like, oh, if this game's only 8 hours and I paid $70, how dare you? Like, I should be, I shouldn't have to pay this much for an 8 hour experience and blah blah blah. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think there's an element where like if a game is shorter, like a 3 to 6 hour experience, charge $40 for it. It's a little bit less, and usually it's high quality. I wish big developers would do more AA development, if that makes sense. Like, you don't need these big AAA budget games. Do these smaller AA experiences to help subsidize you. You don't cost as much. The games don't cost as much, so you don't have to sell bajillions of copies. You can sell just
Right.
a healthy handful, and you'll be fine.
Right. They did that with like a Dragon Gaiden. They released it a few months ago, digital only. I think it was 40 to $50 somewhere along those lines. And it's a whole ass entry in the Yakuza series. And it was fucking great. People are saying that it has one of the best endings in the entire series. And I agree, it's not the best ending, but it's one of the best endings in the series. But the whole game was fucking fantastic, and it's what a lot of people wanted, to take control of Kiryu again and have the brawler style back and just go through a story with him. It's probably his last hurrah, and it was a budget title of sorts to say. It's great.
I like that other developers are starting to do. Japanese developers specifically seem to be kind of taking this approach of doing like smaller, less expensive titles. Like, look at like games like Octopath Traveler and like Triangle Strategy. I'm not saying they were like inexpensive to make or anything like that. Not saying they were cheap, but like you clearly don't have to spend as much money when you're doing that HD 2D as you would on a full 3D Final Fantasy 16 rendered type of game. And you can have these amazing experiences in like cheaper packages and be able to save money that way. And they sell. Like, Octopath Traveler sold well, so much so they made a sequel, which I still need to get because I'm currently playing through the first Octopath Traveler, and really liking it.
You should check out also Live Alive. That is
I actually own it. I was trying to look for it, but I actually own it somewhere here in my game room.
that is a very good game. That's one that never came out here. They did the HD 2D, brought it over, and it fucking sold like crazy. Got to the point where people couldn't find copies because of how good it was selling.
I actually I pre-ordered a copy off Amazon, so it's somewhere in my game room, somewhere over there. But I've been meaning to get it. The curse of a collector, man. You buy a shitload of games and you never play any of them.
Right. I look at my game and it says you have 572 games. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm never going to play any of these.
Probably not. I mean, that's why I do. In all honesty, that's why I stream and do podcasting. I think secretly I started a podcast just to work through my backlog, and I didn't realize it until like 7 years in. I'm like, oh, this is why I podcast.
Yeah, games I got to finish. See, I like to tell my wife the stories of the fucking batshit crazy shit that happens in games. And I like for her to tell me the story of the books she reads, because sometimes those fucking books she reads are just as crazy as whatever I'm playing. And that's basically what we do. I'm trying to lean more into that when we record, but I also don't want to spoil everything, but games are great. I need to quit my job and just play games. I need to like hit the lotto or some shit and just play games for the rest of my life.
Dude, it's funny. I didn't realize how much I liked games until like even before the podcast, like what really kind of solidified it was actually Angry Video Game Nerd, believe it or not. I always had like a passing interest in games, and I think I liked games a lot more than I realized I liked them until I started getting into PC gaming and also into retro gaming. And then in like college, all of a sudden I'm like, no, I like video games. I like games. And I think one of the reasons I started the show, like I said tongue in cheek, it was for the backlog, but that is partially true. But genuinely, it's because I like having conversations around games that would be weird to have outside of a podcast. Like I can't imagine going up to like meeting a stranger in a bar and being like, "Hey, so what do you think of Squall from Final Fantasy VIII? Pretty emo, right?" Like I can't imagine like a conversation like that just happening naturally. And even so, like it would be almost weird, but once you get involved in content creation, then you're around like-minded people who kind of treat the medium the same way that you do. Like in like our group, in our little circle of podcasters, Dave from Tales from the Backlog and Bill from Gaming and Collecting and 3DO, and I haven't interacted with Thrack, but obviously I've listened to him on 3DO. The retro Chris and Shane from Retro Hangover, and Rick from Pixel Project Radio, and Eric from Unlockables, and Keith from Main Quest. Like I'm sure I'm leaving a bunch of people out, but what I love about this community that we've kind of discovered amongst ourselves is that we all like video games, and not just in a way that like, oh, games are fun to play, but you treat the medium as the art it is. Like you talk about them and you dissect them about the art they are. And it's funny, like I was giving you a little bit of shit about your opinions on like Uncharted and whatnot, and like and also I know that you're not a huge fan of Halo, which I'm afraid to listen to that episode because I don't want one of my favorite series to get torn apart. But I value that you have that you don't just take your opinion on it like, oh, it's shit, and then move on. You have thought out reasoning for why you don't like a specific game, and you don't back down from your criticisms of it. You relay them in an articulate and thought out way, and that's what art's supposed to do. That you're supposed to have those thoughts. Art's supposed to make you feel something, whether good or bad. Like I haven't listened to the episode, but from my understanding, you don't like Halo at all, and that's fine. That means it's, in a weird sense, that means it's good art. Doesn't mean that you like the game and that to you it's a good game, but it's good art in the sense that it elicited an emotion out of you. It was a negative one, but it elicited an emotion out of you.
Right.
And that's what art is supposed to do. And I like our community for having such varied opinions, and for the way that we kind of treat it. Like I was listening to Rick's Final Fantasy IX episodes that just came out like a day or two ago, and on Pixel Project Radio. Shout out to Rick and his shout out to Rick over at Pixel Project Radio and his Final Fantasy IX. Well, all of his episodes, but his recent Final Fantasy IX run, and just hearing how passionate he is about that game, and like how articulate and how well spoken and how much he has thought about that game. I love it. And it's not enough just to say you like a game. I like our community because we say we spend an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out why we like or why we don't like a game. I've spent literal months of my life trying to understand why Dark Souls doesn't connect with me. I don't understand why Dark Souls doesn't connect with me, and I want it to, but I can't seem to like wrap my head entirely around what works me the wrong way with that series. And that's why I love doing this, because podcasting is a medium that these conversations are built for, and I like listening to them just as much as I like making them. It's a lot of fun.
Right. No, it definitely is. I've got a couple of things that you said that I want to touch on. First, we are probably having this conversation right now because I recorded an episode with Rick about To the Moon, and it was like 20 minutes of To the Moon and then 60 minutes of us just talking shit about old video games and JRPGs and it was fucking great. And it's thanks to Rick that we're doing this right now. So thank you, Rick. You're amazing. The other one, I get it about Dark Souls. I like Souls-like, I hate when they get sweaty, but I it's a genre that I enjoy. I'm never going to
That's a good
finish one
description.
because
Sweaty. I
because
like
they
that.
get they get way too sweaty for me, and I am not going to finish one because of that. Ever. I started Lysa P, got pretty deep into it, dropped it without a second thought. So I get it. It that was the thing that happened to me with Elden Ring. I put a bunch of hours into the beginning of it, and it didn't click, so I just dropped it. I'm not gonna I wanted to like it, but I wasn't gonna force myself to like it. Right. Same thing with farming games,
No
building
Stardew
games.
Valley?
I haven't tried Stardew, but I did
curious if you like it.
try. I gotta try it. I do have it on Switch, so I gotta try it. I did play the 2 Point Campus, 2 Point Hospital.
Hmm.
I thought that would be fine. Doesn't click with me. Anything that has to do with building and setting up and designing and
Oh, so
creating production does not click with me for some reason. Like I don't have the brain for it.
that's fair. That's fair. So you're not a fan of like RTS games then? Like StarCraft or Warcraft or
I have
Age of
never
Empires?
played one of those. But I do love Pikmin. Pikmin
Okay.
is one of my favorite series of all time.
Oh
and
yeah,
that's-
I think Pikmin 4 was one of your favorite games last year, right?
it was Pikmin 4 was my favorite game of the year last year.
Pikmin. I played the original Pikmin for the first time, like 2 years ago, and I loved it. I was hooked on it. It was so good. I have not played 2, 3, or 4. I played the demo of 4. If you ever want to try out an RTS game, I would play with you. I'm not saying play against you. I actually think like versus into like figure out if you like a genre or not is one of the worst ways to figure out if you like a genre, unless it's like a fighting game where that's kind of like the
Right.
thing.
The point.
The point. But like RTS games are very much, like kind of like Pikmin is Nintendo's version of an RTS game, but it's very much like you get workers, you build more workers so you can harvest more resources, which then you can then build your base to build an army to go send out. You don't necessarily have to design the base, but you should a little bit once in high level games, because the way you lay out a base can determine like. The reason why I say that is in high level play, players will lay out their base a specific way, so that way an invading army has to move around in a certain path, which is advantageous to the people defending it and shit like that.
Right.
But that's like high level play that I don't even fucking know how to do because I don't do enough research on that shit. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but I understand what you're saying about like games that you want to get into and you just you try and you can't. I like to, if I can't figure out why a game's not clicking with me, I'll go back to it because I almost have like an obsessive issue where I'm like, I gotta figure out why this doesn't click with me. And I actually, to be fair, I have figured out why I don't like Soulsborns and Dark Souls specifically. I'm going to try other Soulsborns. I want to try Bloodborne like in earnest, but
I think Bloodborne would be the best entry for somebody that's trying to get into the series.
That's what a lot of people were telling me. But the conclusion I came to with Dark Souls is that when you beat a boss, the thing that, from my understanding, most players get is that when you finally beat one of the bosses, when you finally learn the pattern and you bashed your head against a wall a whole bunch of times, and you beat the boss and you have that sense of satisfaction, like I fucking did it. This game threw this challenge at me and I did it. I don't feel any of that. I beat a boss and I'm like, I wasted my time. I spent 40 hours, not that long. I spent hours of my life doing something that I was not having fun with. And I'm not saying that games shouldn't have like a certain amount of unfun moments. I actually think by having that juxtaposition, it makes the bigger moments better. It's weird. Like, I actually think you need to get frustrated with games in order for a game to really resonate with you in some way, shape, or form. Because if you don't have any challenge or frustration, it usually doesn't hit you unless the story is picking up the slack for that. Not saying it's entirely the case, but I think I just threw out my own point. Stardew Valley has like no challenge, and that game is one of my favorite games of all time. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I don't feel that with Dark Souls at all. I don't feel any happiness after I beat the boss. So when it's done, I'm like, if this is what you're supposed to be like enjoying, like this is the joy you're supposed to experience when you beat the enemy or beat the boss, and I'm not getting it, it's probably not for me.
Right. No, that's definitely how I feel. I don't feel any sort of accomplishment or catharsis or anything like that after I beat a boss in any of the Souls games that I've played. To the point where I played Bloodborne and I felt that it was very easy because I beat the first two bosses without dying once.
Mm-hmm.
I just went straight through the second boss and I was like, this isn't for me. It didn't feel like a challenge. It didn't feel too easy. It just felt like I didn't care for it. So I dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I played Resident Evil 4 and I play it on easy mode, and I am a villager murdering machine, and that is the most fun I'm ever going to have because it's giving my lizard brain happy the entire time.
I think
right.
I think the point I was trying to make with like the like most good games have a level of frustration that's required. I think I've already kind of disproved. I think that's wrong, but I think like there are some games where a level of frustration is required as part of the experience. I recently I recently beat Riven, the point and click adventure Riven, for the first time, and the reason it was funny. I was talking about it with Try from My Life in Gaming, and I think like you almost need the frustration of those puzzles of not understanding what the fuck to do, because by clicking around the world and exploring more of the world, trying to figure out what you need to do to beat the puzzle, you get more world building and more story told to you. Where if you figured out the puzzle right away, you would lose all the context that the game was trying to give you. By struggling through the game and having to explore to figure it out and being frustrated and upset that you don't know what to do, it forces you to explore more of the world and figure out more of the lore that you never would have otherwise. And so if the puzzle was apparent, you would miss out on a lot of context as to why that puzzle is interesting or what it means to the greater story. Now, with that said, that's very hyper-specific to Riven. I don't think it's necessary for all games, like I was alluding to before. I kind of reversing my opinion there a little bit.
It's on a game by
basis.
game basis.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. But one of my favorite games that I've played in the past 5 years that just stuck with me from beginning to end was Eastward.
Okay.
The first episode that I ever guested on was on Tales of the Backlog with Dave, and we talked Eastward, and he didn't like it. And I get why he didn't like it. Once he explained it to me, I was like, okay, I get it. The stuff that you like is actual bullshit on the game's part that I overlook because I really like everything else about the game. But he's right to dislike that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've replayed that game twice, and the DLC came out for it, I think, yesterday. But the DLC is farming, building a community. I'm not gonna fucking play that shit. That's not for me. You give me a plot of land and you tell me go crazy. It is gonna be the most uneven, nonsensical plot of land design that you will ever see. I cannot design shit to save my life. I am fucking awful at it, and I don't have fun when I'm doing it.
You might not like Stardew Valley then.
I mean, I think I saw like a hyper fast gameplay video from Peanut Butter Gamer that he did once, and it seemed pretty interesting, but I haven't played it because I haven't had the inkling or the urge or the challenge to play it.
Yeah.
So going back to the things that I wanted to touch upon that you have said, one of the reasons why I like this community that we're in is that everybody plays everything, and they all know what they like, and they will all talk about what they like with passion. They're not just gonna be like, oh, I love Final Fantasy IX because it's Final Fantasy IX. they will make a whole essay
Yeah.
and then bring on a guest to talk about the entire story. Like when Rick did Final Fantasy VI with Chris Copeland, that is a fucking fantastic series that I cannot recommend enough, that people need to listen to on Pixel Project Radio. It's great because growing up, I obviously had friends that played video games, and I knew people that played video games. And even when I had my old podcast back home, most of what we covered was Call of Duty or Medal of Honor or Battlefield or NBA or FIFA or shit that I don't care about, right? Because that's the only thing that they played. And whenever you found somebody that they're like, oh, I play Final Fantasy, it's just one person. So you can only just talk to one person. You don't have like a community of people that are like, oh, the new Final Fantasy is coming out, let's all go buy it. Or it tended to be just the one type of game
or
that I
even
wasn't
like
interested in.
we have a community that gets excited for other people when a game they're looking forward to comes out. Like, you bet your ass if Kingdom Hearts 5 gets announced, or 4, excuse me, I think that was announced actually. When Kingdom Hearts 4 inevitably comes out, I'm excited to see what Eric thinks of it. I'm excited to hear his thoughts because he's a genuine fan of the series. Obviously, Guiding Keys, shout out to Unlockables, but it's interesting. Like, it's cool to see that. Like, what is it? When the Bluey video game, take another shot, Jala. I mentioned Bluey. When the Bluey video game came out, you have no idea how many messages were sent to me like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, yeah. Like, they are excited to see me try it, which I have since played it, and there will be an episode on, just not recorded yet. But
see, and I know that whenever the new Star Fox game gets announced, they're going to blow up my phone being like, new Star Fox out. Did you see?
Star Fox 99.
Right. Star Fox 99, I am going to be getting first place on every single fucking match.
That would honestly, Star Fox 99 would actually work for the format.
Oh yeah, it would. It would. I would love a Star Fox 99. But I like that a game comes out and everybody's just like tagging the same person over and over again. Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this?
Yep.
It's a great community that we have. And like I'm glad that I don't feel like I'm the only person that likes every single game that comes out anymore. Granted, there are some that I don't like, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to like it. Like when we recorded. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's a good community that you can express your dislike of a game. We were talking about with Uncharted and like Halo and stuff like that. I'm not trying to change your opinion. I think it's awesome. I actually think it's cool you don't like it. I'm actually building up to, I want to listen to your episode on Halo just to hear your criticisms of it, just because it's going to be different from my own. And it should be like that type of shit, like, should be celebrated in a community. Like, the difference is, like, especially we do it all the time when talking Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy is like a perfect microcosm of the games world. You have people who love specific entries and loathe other entries, and vice versa, and it's all over the place. You will find people who like Final Fantasy. Perfect example, Final Fantasy 15. Most people aren't a fan of Final Fantasy 15. When I did my Final Fantasy draft last year, two of my guests, Aiden Mower and Mick Arcade, are Final Fantasy 15 defenders, and they used a lot of 15 in their drafted Final Fantasy, which was bonkers to me. I was not expecting anyone to go for that, but they went for it. And so when I inevitably do that and do an episode on it, I know to reach out to Aiden and Mick, because they're you can find people who like just about anything, and that's what, I don't know. It's cool. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's just I love this community that we've built.
I was just going to say that the Halo episode is basically just me saying I fucking hate this game, and Thrag being like, it's not that bad. But there are reasons why I disliked it, and I do recognized that it was a very influential game, and it did, very amazing things for the first-person shooter genre. That nobody can take that away from Halo. I can say that it's a shit game as much as I want, but nobody's going to take that away from it.
Same like we with Dark Souls. It was one of the most influential games of all time. Doesn't matter what I think of it, if I enjoy the gameplay or not. It's one of the most influential games of all time.
Right? Like it even influenced what's it called? The Tales of series, like the new Tales of game. The combat button placement is Dark Souls button placement.
Oh, interesting.
It's
okay.
crazy. It's yeah. Like they move the attacks to like the shoulder buttons. It's kind of weird, but it works. I mean, it definitely works. It's not bad. But yeah, I think we are a bit over 2 hours, so let's go ahead and call it. We didn't really talk about old games and shit, but no, we're good. This was a very fun time. Josh, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. This will be out in the next 2 weeks. Let me see. So I leave for New York on the 13th. So the 19th it'll be out. Wait, no.
Okay.
No, the 12th it'll be out. The 12th it'll be out. This will be out on the 12th.
Okay.
Real quick. Yeah. So anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to plug? Anything at all?
Well, I guess since I know, I feel like I kind of defeated the purpose of this series you're doing to talk about gaming nostalgia. And I guess we did touch on that, but we went all over the place. I guess just one last thing, and I promise this won't be a tangent. Super nostalgic for the N64 too. I should have brought that up as well. The N64 was my first system that I owned. It's super important to me, and I should have gushed more about it on this episode, but got lost in the weeds of fun conversation in general. I really enjoyed my time. Thank you for having me on.
While you take a sip of water, that just means that you didn't touch the N64. That just means that you can come back on and we can talk Nintendo 64 all you want.
I will.
If you haven't listened to an episode about me and Thrak just not keeping ourselves straight, we will start talking about, I don't know, fucking Gears of War and end up talking about JRPGs or games that are coming out or like a state of play, and it has nothing to do with the episode topic. So tangents is the name of the game here.
Well, you got me on a tangent king type of day. I was all over the place. If this episode, you said this episode is coming out on the 12th. The most recent episode of my show that would have come out is on Riven, and would have actually come out the day prior on the 11th. So if you want to check out that, I did a little 2-episode mini-series on Myst and Riven. Myst with Doug Leaf from the Nostalgia Arcanum podcast, and Riven was with Try from My Life in Gaming, a YouTube channel, My Life in Gaming. The next week, I guess in 6 days after this episode comes out, will be my 300th episode of the show.
Yes.
Just
I know you got something special planned.
It's already announced, so I can say it. It is the Super Mario Fantasy Draft. I have a bunch of awesome guests lined up, which at the time this episode comes out, none of the guests will have been announced, so I'm not going to announce them here, but they will be announced actually on social media days after this episode comes out, leading up to the launch, the release of the 300th episode. So yes, episode 300 is a Super Mario Fantasy Draft, and I can't wait. It's already been recorded. I just have to edit it. And that kicks off Mario Mania. So starting on the 18th of February, going till the end of March, it's a bunch of Mario related content because I usually do.
Nice.
Excuse me. In March is Mario month because, what is it? March 10th is Mario Day.
Yep.
And so I do all Mario related stuff. So it's going to be episode 300 is Mario Fantasy Draft. The episode after that, I'm starting a series with my friend Dexter where we're rewatching the entirety of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, one episode at a time. And we're doing one episode of the podcast for each one episode of the show. It's going to probably take 5 years because it's like 60 episodes of the Super Show, but we only do it once a month, so it's not like we're going to be inundating the feed with like Super Show shenanigans. So that's gonna be coming out the week after, and then for March it's all Mario Kart games, Mario Kart 64 all the way up to Mario Kart DS. We're doing an episode per game, so that's what I have coming up after this episode comes out. Lots of Mario stuff, Mario Mania everywhere, and that can be found on Still Loading Podcast or all good podcast, or on whatever podcasters. I'm losing the thread here. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. StillLoadingPodcast.com, and if any of that interests you and you didn't get tired of my random bullshit opinions, at Still Loading Pod on pretty much all social media except for YouTube, which is at Still Loading Podcast.
Right. I will put the link to the show and to the website on the show notes, so everybody can just click on it and it'll take you directly to Josh's feed. That way you can enjoy all of his content. And dude, that Mario Kart stuff, that shit is going to be crazy. I am definitely going to be tuning in for all that.
I'm hoping I can do a good job at it, because I'm kind of taking it as a challenge, because realistically there's not a whole lot of mechanic changes between Mario Kart games. So how do you really like fill an hour and 20 hour, like hour 10 to hour and a half on each game? So far 2 have been recorded and they're both like over an hour or so I'm pretty content with that, but I still have to record. I still have to finish the other 3, so there's 3 more episodes still to record, and we'll see how it goes.
So I'm guessing you're doing Double Dash too.
Yes, Double Dash is on the docket as well. It's Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart DS, and Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah, Double Dash is definitely going to be a beefy episode, and I feel like DS can get pretty deep too, especially with all the online play and all that stuff that the game had.
We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. So.
And yeah, I know that I have a few Mario Kart fans, so they're definitely going to head on over to listen once those are out. So, but yeah, thank you for being on, man. Check out Still Loading Podcast wherever you get your podcast, and don't forget, tell your friends about the show. It helps a lot. Like Spotify Wrapped said, a bunch of you told your friends, and that's how we got a bunch of listens. So keep doing that. And that's it for this week's episode. You want to say goodbye to everyone, Josh?
Bye.
Bye, everyone.